But I do want to say a little bit about what happened to me in my impeachment. And the reason I want to tell you about it is because his opponent, his main opponent, I think, voted to impeach me. And he did this with no due process, no opportunity for me to give my side of the story. I mean, you would think if they wanted to do that to a Democrat, that would be bad enough, right? And then the media would have gone nuts. But no, Craig Goldman wanted to do this to a Republican who was fighting the Biden administration. And he didn't even have the decency to call me and say, hey, we've known each other for a long time. We've worked on some of the same issues. Can you tell us, what's going on? No, they didn't even. I tried to go talk to them, and they said, no, we don't want to hear anything that you have to say. We don't want to hear any of our witnesses. We don't want to swear anybody in. It's required by law, but we're not even going to do that. There's a law that says they can't bring anything up that happened prior to the election. We're not following that law. Craig Goldman had no respect for the law. And then when I needed help passing legislation to fix what the Court of Criminal Appeals did with our voter fraud abilities, I was told by Craig Goldman and his team, we don't have time to deal with that. And now I know why. They were dealing with my impeachment. So I'd love to, if I had more time, I'd love to go into the details of what happened and how difficult this situation was for me, because I was literally sitting there. They did this in 3 days. I had no idea who the witnesses were. I had no idea what the evidence was. I had no money because I'd spent $16 million beating a guy named George P. Bush, and a Democrat, and they knew I had no money. So I had to go hire a bunch of lawyers to help me while they were having their lawyers paid by, do you know who paid for their lawyers? You did. And they, by the way, have not told the truth. They've never disclosed, even though they're required by law to do so, they've never told you how much it cost. Why would Dade Phelan and Craig Goldman not tell you that? The same reason they did the whole investigation secretly, they didn't want you to know the truth. Because I was pushing for transparency, I'm still pushing for transparency. They're doing just the opposite. This is the guy that wants to represent you in Congress. And so I'm not here necessarily, I'm more about John than I am to criticize Craig, but Craig was a key player in my impeachment. I don't know if you all got to see John Smithy on the floor. Of course, they did this on Memorial Weekend on the Saturday when no one's watching. But John Smithy is a great guy. He's an Amarillo State representative. He's been there a long time. He's a lawyer. And he got up and said, I can't believe this is even possible. We have sometimes triple hearsay. We have no evidence. We don't swear any evidences. We're not doing anything that a normal impeachment would have occur. As a matter of fact, Nancy Pelosi treated Donald Trump better than Dade Phelan and Craig Goldman treated me. And as he was getting momentum under the Republicans, and by the way, they had enough Democrats with 65. They only needed a few Republicans to take me out. But they wanted more Republicans because they didn't want the message to be a bunch of Democrats and a few Republicans impeach me. So the Speaker required a vote of impeachment for me. And when John Smithy was turning the floor, guess who it was that walked around the floor and told people they did not have a choice? They had to vote with the Speaker. Due process doesn't matter. Doing the right thing doesn't matter. You have to vote for the Speaker. You know who did that? Craig Goldman, your state representative and the guy that's running against John. I don't think you guys should promote this guy. That's what he will do in Congress. If he's doing that as a state representative, that's what you have to look forward to. So this is going to seem a little unrelated, but I'm on a mission. I've been traveling all over the state, really pushing to change the Texas House. And one other group, the Court of Criminal Appeals. And why am I doing this? Well, so all of this that I went through obviously was not a fun time for me. It was a very difficult daily task to get myself back up when I had no money. I had a gag order on me, so I couldn't even respond. The lieutenant governor put a gag order on me, so I couldn't even respond to these fake stories they were putting out. They were trying to try me in the media and basically crush me before I could ever get to even the trial. But I decided, you know what? I know that you all elected me. I had only been elected 4.5 months prior. And the way the law works is you are the voters. You're supposed to decide, not a bunch of politicians in Austin. And so I decided, you know what? No matter what happens, and I told my attorneys this because the media and the House kept leaking that I was going to resign. Leaking what? This is how they leaked. They made it up. I never once said I was going to resign. And I kept telling my attorneys, look into my eyes. These guys are going to have to vote me out. I will not leave. If the voters put me here, they're going to have to vote me out, and they're going to have to be accountable to the voters. And so I decided, you know what, I'm sticking it out. But when I was going through this, I realized that I didn't see much hope. I really was. Glenn Hager had illegally taken away my salary, the comptroller. I had no money for attorneys. Have you ever tried to hire a bunch of attorneys with no money? Anybody ever done that? It's really hard. But you know what saved me? It wasn't great attorneys. I ended up hiring great attorneys. I really did. They were amazing. And I don't know, if you guys ever watched some of that, you saw that my attorneys were way better than their attorneys, right? But I told those guys, I said, look, you guys are going to have to go in there and win every day of trial. You're going to have to win every hour of trial because these politicians in the Senate, too, are looking for a way to take me out. And you're saying, well, why would the Republicans do that? Well, the reality is there were 12 Democrats in the Senate. There's 3 Republicans that wanted my job, and they were behind the scenes, ginning it up, trying to get some angle on one of these 20 articles of impeachment to get me out. And so I know that politically, this is more of a political trial than it is a law trial, but if I don't win the law and I don't win on the facts, that'll be their excuse to take me out. And so I think we did that. We won every day trial, but it wasn't sufficient because ultimately these politicians were going to do what they thought was in their best interest. And so I am convinced today that there's 2 reasons that I'm still here. It's not because I put together a great legal team. It's not because of anything that I did. I am convinced that because I know that there were over 100,000 people across this country praying for me, that I'm here because of those prayers. I would not be here. And second, I know that the Senate was telling everybody, we're jurors, we can't talk to you. Did you guys get that? We can't talk to you? They're not jurors. They're elected by you. You have every right to talk to them, no matter what made-up rules they had. And guess what? What I loved about the people of Texas is they didn't listen to the senators. They listened to their hearts, and they called their senators. Thousands and thousands and thousands of calls and emails were made to these senators, and so they knew you were paying attention. And in the end, it wasn't me that saved myself. It was the people of Texas who were, I think, inspired, divinely inspired. You went out and saved me from that impeachment. So I think what happened is actually a blessing to me. I hope it's a blessing to the state of Texas.